What is up, guys? Logan here again with another video for you. Let's talk about Palantir again. Man, the stock looks like it's ready to explode, and everything that I talked about in the last video is currently happening in front of our eyes because I made our video on Sunday. I said I think what Palantir is going to do is consolidate, which it did right in this range, right in the gap up range, right here. And that's what we got to see. And then I said a couple days before earnings, we'll start to see a little bit of a run up, and that's what we saw today. Now look for a large influx of buyers tomorrow as well, leading into earnings. Man, this is going to be a crazy earnings time. It's a new IPO'd stock, so we'll see how we react for earnings. One thing I wanted to say though is if you plan on playing an options call or a put on this play, those contracts IV, the implied volatility, is roughly around 240% per contract from what I was looking at today, even the ones that are at the money. And that would cause implied volatility crush if you decide to take those positions. So be really careful if you do plan on doing that. I wouldn't advise it doing any of the weekly contracts. If you're going to play these earnings, I would probably go a month out just to be safe. But then again, I haven't even checked those contracts either. But man, oh man, look at the movement. Already in the morning, mounted, consolidated, and then began to trade above it as huge spikes of volume came in at the end of the day because they know they have earnings tomorrow and they want to run up. And a lot of people have been asking what do we expect to see from earnings. Palantir has projected third quarter revenue of $278 million to $280 million with a non-GAAP operating income or $6 to $8 million. So with the recent run in the stock, Palantir shares have blown past even the optimistic Wall Street price target, but the stock is relatively cheap compared to the other enterprise and cloud plays and could get a further boost from the quarter that tops expectations. Jefferies analyst Brent Till likewise stated coverage with a buy rating and a $13 target, saying Palantir's data platform is highly unique and often deployed for mission-critical use cases that no other vendor can address, he writes. So that's really interesting to see, and on a day where we had pretty much sideways trading through most of our day and even the morning, it got a little rocky. Palantir is still showing some strength. It's still getting an incredible amount of volume too, more than any other stock that I'm seeing currently right now. And over the last 6 trading sessions, we're up 46% on this stock. And just like I stated in the last video, if we look back here, and this is another little technical analysis thing too that I want to show you guys. So this huge spike of volume on Monday that caused this big run up and then it sold off. Now, we are breaking and testing all-time highs right now. Even though it was Monday when we set this high, that's the level we're at right now, which usually tends to create a breakout. So that's what I think we could see. If we don't get shut down here at 16, we could see a breakout. We are currently at the top of the range right here. So we'll check that out. And we're going to see how they continue to perform after hours. Of course, the volume's going to fly down after hours, but I think we're going to see this stock do a little better after hours, maybe end the day at like 1605 tonight, 1610, and in the morning we should see a big like either a gap down or a gap up, or see a lot of volume in the morning as we will start to trend up for earnings and maybe a little sell-off before earnings. But I'm really optimistic about their earnings, and like I stated in my last video, I'm not going to pick up shares for the long term until after earnings, and I don't think I'm going to play it now just from seeing the contracts implied volatility. And even if I was to play it with shares, I don't know if it's necessarily the smartest thing to do, just because in this current condition of the market, even stocks who have done incredibly well, their share price hasn't really moved after earnings. Now we could even look at Square, right? Square is what I want to show you guys to compare their little earnings play. So Square had their earnings last week, and if we look at how their earnings reaction occurred, so this was the earnings on Thursday. Now you see the big gap up overnight, and then people bought in the next day. All of this volume on Friday. So essentially Square doubled their revenue, and they still didn't move very much as expected, right? Last time Square did this, they moved about $25 to $30 a share. And it looks like here that, yeah, they did spike after hours, about $13, but by the next open, they were at 185 instead of 176, which is a $9 movement, but they did double their revenue. Then everybody who wanted to get in and own shares got in. And then if we look at Square today, sold off, downtrend, more consolidation now, no big movement. So I'm really curious to see how Palantir moves and if we get sort of the same movement, right? Because doesn't this look pretty similar to Palantir's recent move? And I know this is the day after Square, but if we look at Palantir, we have these big gap ups overnight. We get a little bit of movement throughout the day, more consolidation. And this is more on the grander scale, but if I was to zoom in, I think it looks pretty similar. So let's see how we perform, because even with Square basically doubling their revenue, we could still see a negative price reaction, and that's something we've seen with these market conditions. So that's just something I wanted to touch on, but we're still above the VWAP and the EMA, the 180-day EMA. So let's continue to watch this, but I'm not going to play, but man, this stock looks like it's going to take off, and we could expect that tomorrow. I mean, this amount of volume still, a really good amount of price movement that we're getting, and this is one of the hottest stocks, and I'm hearing about it every day from everybody. I get so many questions about it saying, should I hold before earnings? Should I sell before earnings? What should I do? What should I do, Logan? Should I buy right before earnings and then sell the next morning? And my entire take on this is I'm just going to wait to pick up shares after earnings, and whether I pay more than the normal person, it's not a big deal. I'm looking more at like financial risk and safety right now, and I think there's other good plays out there, and there's more than just this stock out there. But I still like this trend overall. I mean, this stock's up like 50, no, it'd be about 60% now from $10, right? Because we're at 16. So this thing's still rocketing and people are making money on it. Even today was a 14% movement right there. 14% in a day. Ridiculous. So we're going to continue to watch this. But that is kind of my little take on Palantir. I talked about them on Sunday a little bit, and they're doing exactly what I talked about. But this is kind of what I see happening. And like I said, my plan is to pick up shares after earnings, whether I pay more or less. And for anybody asking, do you think I should hold through earnings? I would say if you're going to trade options, I personally wouldn't for the risk because of the implied volatility on the contracts. I just don't think it's worth it, to get IV crushed and lose your whole premium. Even though they're pretty relatively cheap premiums on the weekly, still do not touch those because this will get IV crushed. So that's something to keep into consideration. But if you're going to trade shares, I would say, hey, why not give it a shot? If they post really good earnings and you've been holding these shares since $13 or $14, you have some room for movement. And if it does fall down, just add more to your position, and then that's when I'll be hopping into. So I just wanted to say that. It's my little spiel for today on what I see with Palantir. Now, if you guys would consider leaving a like and subscribing on the video, it would really mean a ton to me. And also, I got some cool links down there. You could support me on Patreon, join the Discord, or get a discount on my CBD website. So definitely check those out. Look at that. We already hit 16. This is a brand new high. This is as we speak. It is currently 30 minutes after hours, and we just hit a new high. Whew, this stock's on fire, man. On fire. So let's continue to watch it, but that's kind of what I see, and I hope this video helped you a little bit in kind of how to gauge the hype, gauge why the stock price is moving, the revenue estimates, and what we are planning to see this year and this quarter for this stock. And man, they're backed by the U.S. government. That's 46% of their clientele is the U.S. government. So keep that in mind as well. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.